Hey, everybody, John and Lance here from the bench. Mornings on ESPN 97.5. Hope you'll listen. Right now, let's talk some Texans football. The schedule is out. Texans go to Kansas City to start the season, and they're double-digit underdogs. They play the Ravens in week 2, and they're 6-point underdogs. Lance, how much will we be able to take away from how the Texans perform in these two games? Does this really set the tone for this football season?
I think it sets a tone, but it doesn't define them. One thing we've learned about the Texans over the years is, especially under Bill O'Brien, it's that no matter how the Texans start, they always have an opportunity to right the ship. Unfortunately, we also know that no matter how good a two-game stretch can look, they can throw in a big stinker. So I don't think how you play against Kansas City and Baltimore define you, but I do think that the term sets a tone. I think that's potentially appropriate this year. I think it can set the tone for how the season goes, specifically because, and I guess I'm contradicting myself in some ways, but specifically because this offseason was a little tumultuous, John, and I don't know 100% that Deshaun Watson is officially in camp Bill O'Brien like he's been in the past.
I don't think it means anything if you want to know the truth. Last year they beat the Chiefs, and what did that mean? They got their ass handed to them in the postseason, right? And they started 0-3 before, and then strung off 11 of 12 or whatever they won the 1 year. Even early in Bill O'Brien's tenure, they would lose early in the season and finish 9-7 and win the division. They've always been able to bounce back, but they still are not. Even when they beat the Chiefs last year, they weren't an elite team. We know that. They weren't the Ravens. They weren't the 49ers. They weren't the Saints. They weren't the Chiefs. They just weren't. And it doesn't matter how they do or how they look against these teams. Bill O'Brien gets them to play. He gets them to play later in the season, even when things look bleak. And that's something that you got to give the guy credit for.
Yeah, you have to give him credit, but I still think that it's a little bit of an unknown this year now that we've got 2 straight years of players who I don't know how popular how popular Clowney was, but Clowney was a good player. They got rid of him. That's fine. It's a little different with DeAndre Hopkins because you can't necessarily convince some of those players that it makes them a better football team. So we'll see. I do think the beginning of the year could potentially have an impact on the vibe of the team, especially since it's clearly Bill O'Brien and Jack Easterby now. And I don't think Bill O'Brien – does Bill O'Brien all of a sudden strike you as a guy that's going to handle adversity well early in the season? I know that they've done okay with that in the past. I just feel like things are different, John.
No, I don't. I think that they are. And I'll tell you this. I think the veterans are going to go, wait a minute now. It's not like they stood pat and they said, well, we're going to go with Kenny Stills and we're going to go with Kiki QT and we're going to go with Carter. No, they went out and got Cooks and they got Cobb. Whether or not they overpaid, all that stuff and didn't get enough of the picks or whatever, all of that stuff. But they did get a couple of guys that are fast, and they see Tyreek Hill. They see, fast offenses, and they see, offenses that do acquire speed the way the Texans did. And if early on Deshaun has some success with these fast guys, then there's going to go, wait a minute, maybe we did the right thing here. I mean, I totally agree with what he did and everything else, and the value we got and everything else for DeAndre Hopkins. I agree with him in this. We got to wait a little while to judge before we say this was a horrible. The offense, maybe will be better, Lance. Maybe will be what? Top 10.